after 30, I didn't do it intentionally, I started trying to help other people. I stopped, again, I didn't know that I was doing this.
Yeah.
It wasn't a conscious move, but I stopped trying to help myself, and I started to help others. And when I started to help others, that's when, I broke that ceiling and actually found quote unquote success.
Is that when you started the company, LightSpeed?
LightSpeed was started then, yes.
Okay. And what does LightSpeed do?
LightSpeed VT is a web-based interactive training technology. It allows you to create, deliver, track, and measure interactive content.
Okay.
And that content is generally used for training. A lot of people are using it for marketing now, because you can create an interactive piece of content that will convert better than any linear video you can make. The reason is you're able to ask questions and make offers within the content itself, rather than follow up later and drip on them and all this other stuff. I always say if you have to drip on your customer, you probably should go to the doctor.
So you created this software, and I know a lot of people have used it. I know Grant Cardone has talked about, I think, what Damon John has used. Yeah.
Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, Tom Hopkins. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Major companies, the PGA, UFC, General Motors.
Yeah. So is it more of an enterprise type of a system, or is this something that anybody can use? I'm trying to make a course themselves for $97.
Anyone can use an enterprise system, just FYI.
Okay, that's true.
But the answer is, it's an enterprise software. It's a technology that was developed over the last 20 years that allows you to create, deliver, track, and measure content. Video-based content. But I mean, I can also deliver a PDF, but it's mainly for videos.
Yeah. So where did the idea come from for that?
Well, when I was 30, I was helping somebody make some money. I was teaching them how to sell, and I watched their whole life improve. And I thought to myself, wow, man, I've got the ability to help people. I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to go help people make more money. And so when I went out on the road to do that, it wasn't working very well, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And so I had to do a little research to figure out what the hell was I doing before when I was able to do this. Because I was able to grab someone out of a Burger King and show them how to make 15, 20 grand a month, no problem. I could literally take a, regular old Joe and turn him into a freaking badass. And so I went out on the road to do that for a living, and I couldn't do it. It was like, what's wrong? What's the problem? So it forced me to compare what I did and what I'm doing. And what I found were 4 ingredients that are necessary, I would say, to get the job done. So the 4 ingredients: number 1, good content. You have to know the right way to do it in the first place. Number 2, repetition, right? Most people miss this point, especially companies who are quote unquote training their people. It's not training without repetition. Mm-hmm. Number 3, practice. Number 4, accountability. So when I was working at this organization, taking people out of Burger King and turning them into badasses, the one I helped from the back, which was a lot porter, I brought him up front, showed him how to sell. The reason why I was able to get people to produce and get people to change is because I was delivering good content with repetition, practice, and accountability. I just didn't know that that's what I was doing, but I was doing that. When I went out on the road, I stopped doing the practice, the repetition, and the accountability, and I just delivered the good content. Well, the good content alone is not training. That's exposing, right? We're exposing our people to training. It's not training. Training has to have those 4 things. So once I realized that, I had a choice. I could keep lying to people, because I'd sell you on, I'll come train your people, but once I realized I'm not really training your people, I couldn't just keep saying, I'll train your people, knowing I'm not. So I thought, I got to figure out a way to train them so I can continue this effort. So, which was to basically help people make more money. In order to train somebody, you needed those 4 ingredients. So I was stuck. I could either go to work for these companies and deliver it, but I didn't want to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I said, there's got to be a way to do this without having to, work for somebody. And so I knew about the internet, and I knew that the internet was coming. I was selling websites to companies when they didn't even know what a website was. I remember telling companies, listen, you're going to need a website or you won't be credible. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, if you don't have a website, people aren't going to think you're legitimate. I just didn't know I was so early, because nowadays, if you don't have a website, nobody believes you. You tell me you're somebody and you don't have a website, I don't believe you. You don't have a social media presence, I don't believe you. I can't Google you, suspect.
Yep.
So I was doing that way before. So I was already familiar with the internet, and I just realized that the internet was a way that I could deliver, track, and measure good content. So I had the good content. I just needed to figure out how to deliver, track, and measure it so we could have accountability, practice, and repetition. So I, found some people and built LightSpeed for myself, for my training. And so it started to work. Now I was able to train people again, and it started growing, and then I ran into competition. People said, we use Grant Cardone, we use Tony Robbins, we use all these other people besides me. And nobody knew who I was. So I'm like, I'm better than them. And it didn't matter. They were in love with their gurus.
Yep.
So I said, well, fine. What you're telling me is if I had the guru that you're in love with on this platform, you'd buy it. And they said yes. So I thought, well, let me quit trying to sell them me, and I'll just go sell the guru me. So I went and closed the people that teach you to close. So I'm the guy that closes the guy that teaches you to close. So anyway, I just started closing all the experts.
Yeah.
And then they used it, and it worked, and it revolutionized their business. And ultimately, if you think about it, getting rich means ultimately solving problems. Well, I solved my problem and didn't really think about it, but I also solved Grant Cardone's problem and the dealer's problem and the customer's problem. I solved a lot of problems on accident through necessity, because I say necessity is the mother of learning. Everyone that knows that quote, it's true.